The Caterpillar 966K is a medium wheel loader weighing in at around 24 tonnes. This model from Tonkin comes in a Caterpillar branded box, and it mentions a few features of the model on the back. There's no information about the real machine on the box, but if we open up the flap, or at least open up the flap at the right end, there's a card inside. And if you successfully get that out, it contains a few technical details about the real machine. And on the other side there's a nice photo of the real machine at work. Anyway, enough of looking at pretty pictures, let's get the model out of the box. The inner packaging consists of a clear plastic former, and it's a tight fit in the box, so it needs a little bit of persuasion to come out. But there's no escape from a Cranes etc. review, so finally it submits. The plastic former is a clever interlocking piece, so it holds the model tight and there's no need for any ties or anything to hold it to the base. So all that's needed is to undo the poppers and carefully lift the model out. There's no assembly to do because the model is complete out of the box. However, there was one minor issue with the review model, and that was the roof aerial, which had become dislodged when the model was packed. Anyway, it's a quick and easy fix because all that's needed is a little bit of super glue. Oh, and some steady hands. Oh, and actually good eyesight helps as well. Plus you really need to be seated comfortably, and it's best if you're able to concentrate. But if you can't be bothered with all that, just stick it on, it's easy to do and it'll be fine. The underside is reasonably detailed, the rear axle is good, but the front drive shaft isn't fully modelled. The rubber tyres are nice and chunky, they're not too shiny, and the wheels are nice and detailed. The circular perforations on the side and top are formed in the casting, but they're not actually holes. And the compromise is that it's all painted black rather than just the holes. One nice very small detail is that the pin in the towing hitch is actually formed in the casting. And moving up on top, the exhaust and the air cleaner look good. The cab detailing is reasonable, including grab rails and mirrors. And a mixture of materials is used, with plastic for the grab rails and metal for the handrails, which are reasonably thin and they certainly look good. There are no hydraulic hoses across the pivot point, but there are some very good sharp small graphics. The modelling of the front axle is reasonable, and although the inside of the wheels is spoked, it's barely visible. The riveting of the loader arms is painted, so that improves the look. The metal material bucket is a good casting, with some nice detailing on the underside. It's into the Cranes etc. quarry where we give the 966K a workout. It's reasonably heavy and rolls smoothly, and the rear axle's got plenty of oscillation. And it's good to see that the front axle is fixed as it should be. The steering of a wheeled loader is carried out by hydraulic rams operating across the pivot point. And Tonkin have done a good job here because the cylinders are stiff so it will hold a pose, and also the range of movement is good so it looks realistic. All that's needed is a bit of downward pressure to stop it skidding on a smooth surface. In terms of the loader arm and bucket, a good cutting angle can be achieved from the bucket when it's down, although the carry angle is not quite as good as the real machine. There's also a little bit of looseness in the mechanism so it won't hold all poses that are set. In terms of the lift height, the model does well because you can raise the bucket to a realistic level. Although again, the review model couldn't quite hold the pose up at the top level. The tilting angle is also reasonable, although it's not quite as good as the real machine. Overall though, most positions can be posed realistically. The model has another feature, but it's not one mentioned on the box, and that is that the bucket is removable. It's held in place by one single long pin and you need to push that out from one end. Realistically, it's difficult to do that without scraping the paint off the end of the pin. But as long as you're okay with that compromise, you just need something thin to push the pin out. Once you've pushed enough out to get a grip on, it's easy enough then just to withdraw the pin and then you can separate the bucket. The bucket is just hooked over at the top, so you just need to ease it off. And that opens the way to maybe some different buckets or tools in the future. We'll move on to a couple of genuine imitation real life tests and we'll put the... Hang on a minute, that's a bit small. It looks like the Cranes etc. team have been experimenting with reducing transport costs again. So let's see if they can now get it correct and put the right sized 966 on the low loader. It's a medium sized machine, so it produces an interesting looking transport load. For the next genuine imitation real life test, it's loading up an east dump trailer. And here the bucket height is good enough to go over the top. And the tilt angle is also good enough to get rid of the rocks with a bit of shaking. Just look at how the operator's using fingertip controls to work that bucket. The last genuine imitation real life test is shoveling, so let's see how the 966K does at that. Yep, it's fine. In summary, this is a good quality Caterpillar wheel loader by Tonkin. It feels heavy and solid, and there's some nice detailing. Also, for the most part, the functionality is pretty good too. If you want a wheel loader in your collection, then this one is highly recommended.